to Ace Attorney. Welcome. It is Ace Attorney time. Oh, hello, Molly. Hi. Are you here to do crimes? Is it time for your daily dosage of kitten crimes? Because the last time you came into my office right at the start of the stream, you did some crimes. Yes, you did. I'm sure everyone remembers your crimes. I certainly do. I still haven't put the tension rod with my curtains back up yet. I need to do that, but they're just sitting. They are just sitting on my, on the bar stools in my living room. Okay, she is leaving. I think she... Oh, so while we wait for some folks to while we wait for people to, show up, I have a story for you guys of what was tormenting me 5 minutes before the stream started. Okay, well, first of all, big news. All my Kickstarter books are here. Yay! It took like 3 weeks longer for them to get here than I thought they were going to. Because the printer, when I first bought the books, their estimated arrival date to my home was September 30th. And that came and went. They didn't even ship them for like an extra week and a half. No announcement for stream going live. Yeah, it might be delayed a little bit because the bot that I've been using to announce streams hasn't been working, and the new setup that I have with webhooks, it only checks it like every 15 minutes. So it's a work in progress. I might still need to fix it, but it should go off eventually, which is why I'm doing a little spiel at the start of the stream. Because I know that some folks might not be here yet. I don't plan on jabbering for 15 minutes, but I just have some fun news. First of all, yes, my book is live, or my books are here. I have to sign like 200 copies for the Kickstarter. I've signed a little less than half of that. Go buy my book. I just dropped a link in the chat. I have 1,000 books to pack, and I've done like 70 so far, I think, if my math is right. Something like that. Anyway, so that's gonna take me a while. But yeah, so there's that. Thing number one. Thing number two is what was tormenting me was not Molly. Molly's a good kitten who gets up to crimes, but is generally fairly well behaved. What was tormenting me was my other pet, Miss Roxy, who I'm starting to discover has become picky as shit in her old age. So I buy her this expensive food, like this expensive wet food. She's got some bad teeth. We can't do anything about it because she has a heart murmur, so they can't clean her teeth because cleaning a dog's teeth involves putting them under anesthesia. And if we put her under anesthesia, her heart could stop and she could die. So she has to have soft food. And she also has like some sort of grain allergy, wheat allergy. We're not sure exactly what it is. All we know is that her stomach gets upset if she eats food with too many fillers in it. So we get her fancy, expensive food that does not have any of that in it. And she's still picky as shit. So I bought her that, and she's been eating out of the same can. I usually try to like mix up the flavors a little bit so she's not eating the exact same food every single day. And so today I went and I gave her food at like 8 a.m. like I do every day. And she normally gets super excited about her wet food because she's like, fuck yeah, it's breakfast/dinner time. It's time for me to be fed. Hell yeah, give me this shit. And then this morning she just wasn't feeling it. She wasn't feeling it. And I'm like, Roxy, why aren't you eating your dinner or your breakfast? And she didn't eat it. I'm like, well, maybe she's just not hungry yet. Maybe it's a little too early. Maybe she'll come back and eat, and she'll come back to it and eat it later. And then, like, right before the stream started, I usually feed her right before the stream starts, and she still hadn't eaten, like, half of it. And I'm like, well, that's odd. What's the matter? Do you have an upset stomach? What's the matter with you, little dog? And bear in mind, she is 15. So pretty much anything unusual that happens for her kind of makes me panic a little bit. It's like, oh Lord, she didn't finish her breakfast. Oh God, this is it, it's happening. But turns out She just doesn't like the chicken food. So I bought her 2 different cans of doggy food. One is a can of chicken food and one's a can of salmon food. They're exactly the same except for the main ingredient. She does not care for the chicken food. And I was trying to get her to eat it. I was like putting some little pieces of deli ham in there, and she loves the deli ham, and she was just like eating the deli ham off of it and like spitting out the chicken food. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You ate just fine yesterday. Are you sick? Is something wrong? I opened up a can of the salmon food just to see, and she eats it just fine. And I'm like, you motherfucker. So, yeah, I apparently have an extremely picky geriatric beagle. And a half-eaten can of chicken food that she, I guess, has just decided that she will never eat again. Because chicken food. Great Ace Attorney lore is that Kazuma really doesn't like chicken. Yeah, well, they mentioned that. They mentioned that. That was like, yeah, that's why I didn't eat the chicken on the Buryagaze ship. Yeah. My dog is Kazuma. Just give her a sword and she'll be good to go. Aren't beagles just really picky their entire lives? Roxy hasn't been. She's just gotten picky in her old age. Like, suddenly she's like, oh yes, I'm an old lady now. I'm going to turn my beagly nose up at half the food you give me. Well, anyway. Let's go! Oh, I should greet the chat before we get started. Oh, the game is starting without me. Shut up, chat. Shut up, Captain Stopwatch. I gotta say hi to the chat. Hello to New Ghost 9, Dupli Ghost, Emil Castillo, or Callisto, Girls, sorry, Abja Maranth, Wandering Dreamer, Don M. Theron, and I think that's everybody. If I missed anybody, sorry. Also, hello to any lurkers who were hanging out in the chat. What's up? Welcome to Ace Attorney. Ohm the Second, hello, welcome. What's up? Let's fucking do this shit! I'm ready to unravel this huge mystery. Complicated mystery. Let's fucking go. I've wasted enough time. Whew. Okay, let me bring my mic a little closer to me. Okay, before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice, like some goddamn vigilantes. And the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in the assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary present here on this occasion, that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. I'm with you on this one thing, Captain Stopwatch, but you're still sus AF. I do not trust you. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with the resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Hell yes, the name of the game. Resolve. Resolve, yes. That's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire, the defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Sogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? Ooh, spicy. Prosecutor fight! Prosecutor fight! He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma, whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Spicy. The boys are fighting! The hot boys are fighting! Kazuma's bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma-san? Is that really even Kazuma-sama standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted this prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume. I mean, I guess. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barak von Zeeks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well, then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls upon the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last, then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Come on, Reinosuke. It's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. Push it to the limit, limit. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Ha. So it was you who issued this, was it? Your subpoena? I did what was necessary. Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you'd take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. Okay, bitch, fine. Damn. My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am, of course, fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of this country. I just wanted to invite him to my cool guy science fair, and look what fucking happened. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. We really need to find a shorter name for that, if we're gonna keep bringing it up. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put my all into that treaty. Judge Jigoku, I must ask. Well, I never. Fancy the young murdering student turning up here of all places. I was deemed not guilty for that. You acquitted me yourself, and now I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see. You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France. Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase. And then explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances? Well, I was somewhat expecting this. And I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment. What? He can do that? Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette. But my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? I appreciate that the respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that. So you would run from all this? I beg your pardon? This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right, and you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. Yeah, that's the title of the game. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have that Seishiro Jigoku is involved in this case? The fucking suspicious as fuck telegram?
Take that!
This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained 4 names: K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. Yeah, he didn't know we had that, but we have that. You little... Where did you get that? In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku. What? How on earth did you... What's all this about? Why is my name on that list? The list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. K. Asogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett. But her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. A. Shin and her victim J. Wilson. And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other. What exactly is the defense suggesting? These 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. And the telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? Assassin exchange program is still the most wild concept. You are right! My question is, why couldn't they have just gotten Kazuma to kill the guy in Japan and Shin to kill the guy in Britain? Is it a diplomatic immunity thing and I just forgot about that because sometimes my brain just skips over dialogue as I'm reading for it? Or have they not told us yet? I don't know. If they haven't told us yet, I'm sure we'll figure it out, so don't tell me. The telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you. And I'm willing to bet the other one was Strongheart. Just saying. Diplomatic immunity. Yeah, that I had a feeling, but I forget if it was ever outright stated. It was definitely a diplomatic immunity thing. I think they brought it up, but maybe my brain tends to sometimes gloss over things when I'm reading them out loud. It's just like a muscle memory thing. It's like, I'm talking, but I'm not really like listening to the words that I'm saying as I'm reading. So I forget. Judge Jigoku, what's all this about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. Yeah. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard. As shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seishiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you. You deliberately avoided saying a name? The defense claims these 4 names indicate a sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. It do. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? What the fuck? His silence only goes to prove his guilt. There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse. Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court. There's no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then. As a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st October. That was a pretty whack Halloween, wasn't it? Present your formal testimony now. As you wish, my lord. It's true that Kazuma Sogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there had been shots fired, the crewman would have heard it. So clearly I can't be involved. You bribed the crewman yesterday? What reason do we have to think that... Crewmen are not very, like... Bleh. I can't talk today, I can't speak words. So you admit it then? As this communication suggests, there really was an assassin exchange agreement between Britain and Japan? A political endeavor at the highest levels, not something I can discuss here. To use such worthy practice as foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard. Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. I am a judge, so I know. Pardon? Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know. What? Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel? Kazuma-sama? Judge Jigoku, if you're the mastermind behind this operation in Japan... Yeah, because Gregson was the one who got his dad arrested. Judge Jigoku, if you're the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defenses identify is unrelated to the events of this case. The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk. Oh, can't he have? Because if he had been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it. That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barrick van Zeeks. The prosecution's accusation remained unchanged. To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings. Clearly it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute. And like yourself, maybe! Mr. Suspicious as fuck Stopwatch! Well, I seem to recall it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Ooh. Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, Counsel? Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. Alright, let's go.
Hold it!
I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January. That awful tragedy that took place on the steamship. Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed, but his body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. The news was wired to me from a detective I'd placed on the ship to accompany the assassin. Obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all. But he did lose his memory, including all details about his special mission. Did you not consider dispatching another assassin at that point? Well, that wasn't possible, simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Asogi's replacement, and there was no way to stop him from reaching Britain. My hands were completely tied. So Mr. Sholmes' strategy worked perfectly. He predicted everything that would happen. Months later, my memory returned, but I'd never intended to go through with the assassination mission anyway. So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Is that it? I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. This line of questioning has gone on long enough. Yeah. All the court should be concerned about in the testimony given by this witness are details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder. In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to the man or his death. And you have some means of substantiating this plea.
Hold it!
The crewman who was standing directly outside of your cabin door, you mean? Well, that's right. A muscular man with a permanent grim expression on his face. His name was something stupid like Chicken or something. He didn't once move from that spot. But to be honest, I thought he was a miserable fellow. But as it happens, he's a vital witness now. There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by a gunshot. And it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that. Wasn't there like a drill or something? Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 p.m. to review evacuation procedures. Yeah, there it is. And it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that. But wait, what about the ship's enormous steam engines? The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the gun being fired. Sadly, young judicial assistant, that won't wash. Oh. You will recall that my cabin was in the first-class area of the ship, which is also, of course, the quietest. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like steerage where the judicial assistants go. I didn't mean... but a hole like that made by a bullet was found in your cabin, Judge Jigoku. That's compelling evidence that a gun was fired in there. What's that? A bullet hole? Oh yes, you're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. That was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by woodworm. No doubt he didn't find an actual bullet. That's a hole in this argument. Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewman to be brought back to Britain with me. But obviously, if a gun had been fired to my cabin on the night in question, as the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot and would never have made it to Britain in the first place. Very true. The witness's logic is sound. Since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question, we must assume that the witness is telling the truth. I'm glad you've seen sense, my lord. Except that he's a piece of shit! I know Kazuma's already admitted to taking on this incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing it confirmed by somebody else is still a real shock. It's unforgivable! Using Kazuma-sama's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan. But I think Kazuma manipulated Judge Jigoku too. He completely double-crossed him. Oh dear, it's hard not to see that as a stroke of brilliance on Kazuma-sama's part. One way or another though, Gregson ended up dead. I really think that the murder must have happened aboard that steamship. So you mean... Judge Jigoku must be lying. I know I shouldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. But you must destroy him, Mr. Naruhodo. Get his ass, Mr. Naruhodo! Yeah, I'm gonna get his ass, cause, there was a fucking emergency drill outside your cabin at all times? You say that, huh?
Objection.
Get wrecked, fucker. Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, We can be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. What? Where did you get that? From your fucking trash can. It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Sholmes again. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts? And during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. Well, he's fucking pissed. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. Gah!
Objection!
A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryunosuke. But it amounts to nothing. Why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel? Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. You'll present the evidence for the defense it wants, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Judge Jigoku's cabin on 31st October? I think it's this. I'm gonna look at it first just in case. You see these little things all over the place, don't you? It's the part on top of a pocket watch that you twist to set the time, isn't it? It's called the crown, I believe. A watch would be quite useless without one. The crown? Like what sits on top of a monarch's head? That's a very grand name for such a tiny part. But actually... Yes, Mr. Naruhodo? If this is a crown, I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Okay, so it doesn't give me anything extra. Maybe if I go and examine the pocket watch again. I'm just double checking. God, there's a lot of evidence in this fucking trial. What do you think, Mrs. Otto? I feel sure I know exactly what will fit here. Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing. We're about to see that the little round component is actually part of Inspector Gregson's broken pocket watch. Really? I was just thinking precisely that too. There we go. Yeah, boy. A perfect fit. I knew it. Alright, perhaps you knew it. I'll make a note of this new information at once. Yup, there it is. Cool, I had a feeling we had to do that first. This reminds me of the last trial of the first game, where you have like 5 pages of evidence. Oy.
Take that!
Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch. A pocket watch? And you will observe the victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill. In the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer? He's just doing that to piss me off now. Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke. And your argument sounds entirely plausible. At first. But rather like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks. What? And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I'd known that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. Oi! I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall into which you've stumbled. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume. Yes, I do. Very well, then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st October. Do you guys remember, like, 10 streams ago, when I said that in Ace Attorney, generally, the grandest characters are always the bad guys? I was right. I was fucking right. I know these games. I know how they do. I feel like next Ace Attorney, the game, they should put a big grandiose character in there and have him not be the murderer, and that would be truly surprising. Of course, as a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice. I need to reset my follower goal. It's set at 100. Oops. I had the guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took care of him with an Ippon Seoi throw, though. He couldn't wait to run away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It has nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was clearly killed having returned to Britain, because his body was found in London. Ippon Seoi. A common jujitsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily for his watch to take. So, Rinosuke Naruhodo, I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin in no way proves that the victim's murder took place in there. I have no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell. Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord. But if this testimony holds, Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have had no involvement in the case. Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination. Now, we're cross-examining this fucker, excuse you. Sorry, my lord, the defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, you not knowing when you're beaten. I'm not beaten. You are. I couldn't come up with anything better. In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. Alright.
Hold it!
But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through now, stripling. What? If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth could he have got back to Britain? When people die, their bodies remain at that same spot. It's a devil of a thing. Well, then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body. How exactly? Carrying a corpse off a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? Well, yes, that's true, but you may have had a big ass suitcase, like that one, like this one, like this one. All passenger luggage is inspected when it is unloaded from arriving vessels. And I would like to think the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman that's hand luggage. Didn't they say he was, like, able to get through security really fast because he was so important? Wasn't that, like, a thing they talked about earlier? Like, he didn't have to go through a lot of the rigmarole because he's so, like, high up and fancy? If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain. Yeah, that's killed that idea then. But perhaps not. Miss Usato? We've heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crewmen posted to guard them, which would mean that the culprit had no opportunity to dispose of the body in the sea. Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? Yeah. I thought that'd been perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I had to alter my testimony. With your consent, of course, my lord. I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain. I'm gonna save first. I'm gonna save first. I'm gonna save first. I'm gonna save first, but I'm gonna save first.
Objection!
Yeah, got him! There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do, the transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Ryunosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. Well, all those passport checks and luggage searches at the border took rather a lot of time. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't have to go through any of that, did you? I knew you were jealous. I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku? It's a photograph we took in the foyer of the hotel to mark the occasion. And the court will note you have with you your large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting... I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. God, that is so fucked. Ugh. Order! Order! Order in the court! I'm skeptical, counsel, that the grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. Well, we proved that shit yesterday! It could. Because I happen to know that the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? But inside his trunk? How horrifying! And after we'd spoken with you at the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene on Fresno Street, taking your trunk with you in a cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense. Dr. Gori, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She's acknowledged that there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators of the requisite site are few and far between. Yes, I'm sure they are. But one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages. And the SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikotoba told me all about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Well, this is all very heartening. I can see that it was a wise move, letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you both laid firm foundations for that already. Judge Jigoku, please, stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond? Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there? Why ever not? Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. The actual scene of the crime. The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Barracks von Zeke shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deductions amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale. I'm afraid that's how the logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. The victim was shot in that little room on Fresno Street and died instantly? I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim that's the only fairy tale here. How can you say that? Quite simply. Because the claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession. Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you? The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim. Which one? Pocket watch, maybe? Yeah, I think it's the pocket watch, but I'm gonna check everything else first. Yeah, do we have the fish and chips in evidence? No, unfortunately. It probably smell pretty bad by now. Or no, wait. We're trying to say that he died instantly, so the pocket watch wouldn't have anything to do with that. I'm just checking all my shit. So if he didn't die instantly... This music is so dramatic. Prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot at the scene on Fresno Street. but we have evidence that contradicts that. Okay. Sorry, Ryunosuke, I'm not as smart as you, apparently. Could it be the suitcase? Because the suitcase has blood on it. And how would that have gotten there otherwise? Well, it was removed from the scene after. I guess it could be the trunk. I'm gonna save. Let me look at the autopsy report one more time. Wrong autopsy report. We've got 2 fucking autopsy reports in here. In that case, I think it might be the trunk.
Take that!
Nope, I guess it wasn't. Yeah. Shut up, Susato. Because if he really was shot and killed, then why would they need that? Why would they need this? Why would this even exist? I don't know. I'm just trying to justify it in my brain. Nope, I didn't think so. But I thought I'd try it. I saved right before this. Is fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, what were they saying? Was he moved there after his death? Okay. Shut up, Kazuma, I'm working on it. Okay, so it's not the trunk, it's not the that. Is it the watch?
Take that!
No, God! Fucking hell, what is it then? Ah! I didn't go to lawyer school! I studied on a boat for like 2 months. He is, tightly curled as though rigor mortis had set in. Is that what we're going for here? Yep, is that one. Oh, wrong button. Wrong button. Okay, now that we know. Listen, I got there eventually. It's fine.
Take that!
A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed? If they say something about rigor mortis, I said that a long time ago. I just didn't make the connection here. So don't judge me. Yes, but the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, it It's out of the question that his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. He could easily have adopted that fetal position due to the pain of the shots, which subsequently proved fatal. But if he died instantly, he wouldn't have felt it. Sus. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jigoku, but it's your logic that is flawed. What? According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. Yeah. Which begs the question of why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though the answer should be abundantly clear by now. You're suggesting... The inspector's body took on that posture ahead of its arrival on Fresno Street, before it was coldly turned out onto the floor from the inside of a large travel trunk. No! You're quite right. The shape of the body... It looks exactly as if it had been kept in a confined space. I said that like 3 streams ago. Just saying. Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Arrgh! Present my trunk? I refuse. What? On what grounds? Yep, bitch, get him. I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling's baseless accusations. In other words, Judge Jigoku, there is blood in your trunk and on your hands. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that allow me to... At this moment, you're not a government minister. You are a witness in a trial in Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside this courtroom might be, you will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Yeah, get angry. I like doing angry voices. Now I gotta sip of my water. Oh, that's cold! I put more ice in it than usual. My drink is very cold. Order! Order in court! Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be? You can't be serious! You did it?! Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Sogi? What? Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country, but he's gonna say that Kazuma did it. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You... Dear God, outrageous! So it was you! No! I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean? I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw it into the ocean. So, I decided my only option was to bring it into Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. You still can't deny it! If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man? He's gonna accuse Kazuma. He's gonna do it. As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he'd already accepted the mission to take the inspector's life. Oh! That's right. Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Sogi. You... I never thought you'd stoop to this, Seishiro Jigoku. You have taken the words right out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Sogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't! So, what do you make of that, young stripling? You've heard my testimony now, and that's all I have to say on the matter. I admit to nothing more. I don't believe this. Counsel for the defense. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion. It's bullshit! Kazuma wouldn't use a gun! The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to Jikoku, or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put forward by Judge Jigoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been committed by Prosecutor Asogi is... Okay, do we have evidence that it's impossible? I know that impossible is the right answer, but what evidence do we have for that? Here, let me actually look at the sword, because I don't think we have yet. Karuma, the Great Blade. It's such a thing of beauty, I want to gaze on it for hours. Just the tip. The tip of the great sword, broken. Such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. I can almost hear Karuma's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Anything else? No. It is a pretty sword. It's pretty. It's like, we've got this shit. It's like, we know the tip of the sword's in the suitcase, but does that have anything to do with it? Maybe it's not in evidence. Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claimed that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. What? Yeah. Ooh, this music is spicy. The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So, present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asogi's involvement? I'ma save real quick. I feel like this music is a kind of a mix of like the previous like dramatic music, but also the little sprinkles and some of the instruments used kind of remind me of Kazuma's theme, which is very fitting. Yeah, it's got kind of like an Asian music style flair to it, which is the same that Kazuma. I don't know what instrument it is, but I think that same like little like harpy sounding thing was also used in Kazuma's theme. Trying to think. But I spend all of my good intelligence rolls on earlier shit in the trial, and then by the time the dramatic consequences come up, I don't got shit. Ah! Wonder if there's anything else I can get, because he was killed with a gun. Kazuma would never use a gun. There's a couple different things it could be, and I'm not sure which one it is, so I'm just gonna figure it out. Shut up, Kazuma! I'm trying to defend you! Wait, what was that said? He's on sentry duty outside the first-class cabins nearly all the time, so as long as that guard was there, it would have been impossible to fire a shot without it being heard. That very much narrows down when the crime could have been committed. Okay. Yeah, so we're talking about the time of death? Okay, since I only did it once, I'm not gonna bother resetting, it's fine. This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof. An itinerary? How does that prove anything? Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at the time. Oh, because Kazuma said he stayed overnight at a place and you could check his records. Ah, yeah, that's right. But Prosecutor Isogi stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I forgot about this conversation. That's what happens when you play it on separate tastes. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. I wish they'd given us that as evidence so that I could have remembered about it. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Isogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. Ugh! No, absolutely not. I don't accept that at all. What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he has really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting. Waiting for his chance to come back and finish the... No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. As I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easily to verify, and undeniable proof. No, There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it? Seishiro Jigoku. It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Backstory time! Oh, he's gonna break the stand again. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. Ah! Boom! Damn, dude. Where did the witness stand go? It's over! My life is over. I hurt my throat a little bit doing that.
Bruh.
A British assassin to eliminate the professor in Japan, a Japanese assassin to eliminate the detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassination exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand. And for that you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. And you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement because I was already on my way to Britain at that time in Kazuma's place. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. I wonder how differently this would have turned out if Kazuma hadn't stolen Ryunosuke away into his suitcase. Because then they could have just sent another person. The whole reason they couldn't send a secondary assassin on the exchange program was because Ryunosuke was already there. So if he hadn't stowed away, this whole game would have turned out very differently. I mean, it would have turned out differently because the plot wouldn't have happened at all, but you get the idea. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume. That's right. I decided it would be safer to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. So I enlisted the help of my British counterpart. And made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Yeah. So, that means that the assassin exchange was... It was all planned by the Reaper. I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France, and his own death. Oh, how awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. God damn. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time waiting. For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came round and went for me in a reckless move. I'd received the British-issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that. So the revolver belongs to you, does it? Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse. Which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street. The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. And then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London. In that case, you must have known. You must have intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification. I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit. So I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk. That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel, then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted the young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there and then. So I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate the gunshot. What sort of disguise? For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. So I put that on, although I suspect it drew more attention to myself than I would have otherwise. The hairpiece we found at the scene, the inspector had it ready for the Red-Haired League The inspector had it ready for the Red-Headed League investigation. I only arrived at the room around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later. So that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that? I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips. I didn't notice it had just fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. Get 'em. Honestly, I would have just fucking thrown the fish and chips away at that point. Seems like a silly thing to do. But what do I know? Who am I to judge? I'm just a simple anime girl. I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? And nothing you say now can make matters any worse for yourself. Just tell us. Enough! Yeah, you don't even have a little desk to bang on. I've already told you that I cannot say. Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us is admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. Pachoo! Damn, Judge Jiggy with it. You weren't so jiggy with it after all, were you? Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found... Damn. And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. Damn. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt. No, Kazuma's gonna say, he's gonna come at this and he's gonna be like, no, but who told him to do it? The Reaper, the prosecutor. He's not gonna fucking take the shit laying down. No way, no way, no way. This is a fucking hollow victory. We're not done yet. We're not done yet! Wonderful! That's well done, Mr. Naruhodo! Yes, thank you. Is something wrong? I'm just a little troubled by his silence. The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange. We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor. As you wish. Now for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant, Barrick von Z- Yup! Told ya! Kazuma's not fucking done. The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel? The accused innocence hasn't been fully established at all. And therefore, it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position. What? But Judge Jigoku has already confessed. Nevertheless, Barrick von Zeeks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot. Into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. Would a prosecutor have that kind of authority over the police? I know someone who has that kind of authority over the police. Captain Stopwatch! If you're asking yourself if I will never call him by his correct name, no. I will not. He is Captain Stopwatch to me. Captain Stopwatch and only Captain Stopwatch. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barrick von Zeeks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? Order! The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting that you have some new information with which to build a case? Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zeeks very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper. Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. Yeah, what do you mean? It's already been established that the Assassin Exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself. Which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here. I must say I'm surprised. By quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty. Blah, 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 blah. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Kazuma's silence before. He'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago. Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, I will on this occasion grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing. The Jury of Ghosts. Pray turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice. So, for those who are not in the Discord, which, by the way, if you're not in the Discord, you totally should be. Here's a link in the chat. I had a very cursed idea the other day that Van Zieks could totally put, like, notes on the bottom of his shoes that you could then read while when he puts his foot up on the table. And I imagined he would have one that, like, he slams his foot on the table, and then it has a note on the bottom that says, "Please be nice to me." Like, I don't remember what show it was from, but there's that one meme that's been going around. It's like, "Don't make me show you the back of my hand." And on the back of his hand, there's like a sticky note that says, "Please be nice to me." It's that, but it's a sticky note attached to the bottom of his shoe that says, "Please be nice to me." I'm just imagining that. That's why I laughed. Lord Van Zieks. I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. Also, yeah, I guess they got a new witness stand during the, at some point. They just brought one in from the courtroom next door. So I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense? Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically. You're right that he's not himself. But I knew it would be like this. And I came here today to determine to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer, and as his friend. Then that's what we must do. The defense has no objection, my lord. Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. As you wish, my lord. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson. Except for the Reaper case. Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the Assassin Exchange. So you deny all accusations by the prosecution? Both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey and that you masterminded the Assassin Exchange? I acknowledge that the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy which I alone am in the position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Ryunosuke Naruhodo? Yes? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? A desire to uncover the truth. Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty. From all my experience in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in pursuit of the truth. I want you to remember what you just said. Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed to cross-examine the witness. Yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction you're convinced lies somewhere in this man's testimony. I feel like I gotta point it out, because there's definitely a link between all the things. It's fucking Reaper case. Or, not the Reaper, the Professor case. Bleh. I'm gonna press it first. But there is a link between you and Gregson, though. Of course, we were close acquaintances. We worked on numerous cases together. I considered the man to be a mentor of sorts. He taught me a number of important lessons. He did? Such as what? Where to buy good fish and chips, and such like. Oh my god! Well, that was convincing. Dr. Wilson was a coroner, of course, but that was some time in the past. And in any case, I understand it was several years ago now that he was invited to work at the Japanese university. That's right. He was a visiting professor at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo. It should be unambiguously clear then that no link exists between myself and him. In other words, I had no motive for sending some assassin across the oceans to kill the man. It sounds plausible enough, and I want to believe it. But something about this just doesn't sit quite right with me. Yeah, okay, we got a objection. I'm gonna save real fast. Haven't saved in a while. Signed by Dr. John H. Wilson, who carried out the procedure.
Objection!
What is this? An autopsy report? Wait, this is 10 years old. From the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zeeks. What? My brother's autopsy report. I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth. Order in the court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here, counsel? The autopsy report of the professor's final victim, is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant. Not that accursed name again. The professor. I've personally researched all the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time, the autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls. And for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Clint Van Zeeks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead, Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure. And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document. As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind. I still want to know what that evidence was, because they haven't told us yet. Indeed, that was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zeeks to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelous victory in court. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true. What? Could the same be said if I turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death. That's outrageous. And now, 10 years later, for some reason, the secret has been threatened and needs protecting. Which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain, using the two killers recruited for the assassin exchange. Order! Order at once! 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer, to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I'd prove it, which is why I had to come to Britain. Whatever the cost. You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this eventual Nipponese's tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer. Come on, Kazuma, you know this won't wash. You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago. You must see that without evidence, that's nothing more than a wild accusation. As it happens, I have evidence. What? As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to Silsashiro Jigoku. But my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. What truth? The truth about the evidence, and he acknowledged what I'd already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in that autopsy 10 years ago. What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret. While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword Karuma before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was. Roy, I see. You're that young Asogi lad, are you? And what? You're gonna cut me down with that thing, is that it? That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth. That's all. Before we get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was a professor. There's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So, you admit it then? The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated? It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following orders. Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak! I'm not saying another word. Even if your life depends on it. That's right. Even then. So that's when the tip of the sword broke. Oh, Kazuma-sama. If the results of Clint Van Zeeks' autopsy were fabricated, then the investigating officer Gregson and the lead coroner Wilson must have known about it. And they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in any way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barrick Von Zeeks. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins. Exactly. And as was established earlier, it has to have been the Reaper himself who liaised with Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. Yeah. So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of a man who stands accused in this courtroom today, Barrick Von Zeeks. But, you know who was originally supposed to be the prosecutor for that case? A certain Captain Stopwatch. Wait, hold on. Ascertain Captain Stopwatch! I'm telling you guys, it's him. I said it since, like, the day he showed up. I was like, this is a bad dude. Have a sip of my water.
Objection!
Kazuma Sogi. What? What you have just told the court. Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission. In that case, I know the name of the Reaper. Yeah, 'cause he would know. What? Lord Van Zeeks? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one. If Lord Van Zeeks isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there is only one other person who could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is too. I've been saying it for like 10 streams now. You... I just had a feeling this name was going to come up. The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is... Get wrecked, Captain Stopwatch! The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy results is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Mael Strongheart. What? Lord Strongheart? Yes, it's true that 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court, but he only took over the case after his brother, Lord Clint Van Zeeks, had been killed. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Well, Lord Van Zeeks? 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession. But I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all the evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it all came from you. I've spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now. I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Seishiro Jigoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey. Get his ass! Get him! Be gone, Captain Stopwatch! Please be nice to me. The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense. It doesn't warrant a response. A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best. You're not going to defend yourself? You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Clint Van Zeeks' autopsy. That's utterly untrue. But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it. And where is your evidence? What? Gregson's dead now, unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand. Ace Attorney! Spirit medium tie. Wrong game. You mean to say... I forget how the system works in your little backwater country, but in the courts of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Ugh. Oh, hold on. My mom is calling me during the worst possible time. Hold on. Just cancel me already. Do it. I'm a shitty, stupid asshole who doesn't do anything but screw up, I know. So if you want to cancel me, you can go ahead and call it a day. Cancel me! Amazing. Got like half a panel left to ink, but the problem is that page has some spoilers on it that I didn't necessarily want to give away. So I came up with some interesting censor bars that I think you all will appreciate very much. So we're just gonna flip over to that now. So, this stream is not sponsored by Pringles. They're just helping me, keep some hidden stuff out of the stream while I just finish inking this page. That's when all this started. When I killed a dude. Oh, look at him. He looks so young despite only being 3 days ago. I love him. I really hope he does not betray me. Congratulations, Cosma. It looks like you're gonna get to study abroad at last. I know, I've been forever dreaming of this day. Finally, those government elites have acknowledged my academic achievements and successes in court. So you'll be representing Japan as you immerse yourself in the most sophisticated legal system in the world. I'm really happy for you. Oh, he's gonna die, isn't he? He's gonna die, isn't he? No! He's talking about how he's Okay, I'm back. And also, that Kazuma clip hits different now. That was from the very first stream. My mom was calling me because apparently she was bragging about me on Facebook and she didn't know a link, like, bragging about my books and stuff. And she was like, but one of your relatives, one of your obscure relatives wants to buy one of the books. Send me a link. And I'm like, Mom, it's the first thing on my store. You don't need me to send you a link. You know what my website is. Anyway. Order in court. Following Inspector Gregson's murder, and in the light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there? And that's exactly what you wanted, you stopwatch piece of shit! So that was the real purpose of the assassin exchange. This court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections. Kazuma. He's more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Van Zeek's autopsy. Bring in the Susanoo Dad! He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks. He even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to ensure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Scythe won't say anything against Strongheart. But there's still one ray of hope. Bring in the dad! Actually, there is one person. One person who could still testify about that autopsy. Holy shit, this is awesome! Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left. Who, Ryunosuke? Who? Tell me. Kazuma, Please. This trial can't end. Not yet! I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify about the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zeeks is... Bring in the dad! Heaven help us. Another Japanese... An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Yujin Mikotoba, 16 years ago. He came to London with Seishiro Jigoku and Genshin Asogi as a visiting student. And what could his testimony possibly tell us? Professor Mikotoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. was also the person who actually penned the report. Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature. It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it. In other words, Professor Migotoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Migotoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. The defense's demand is denied. What? But Professor Migotoba is in London at this very moment. He's in the gallery, probably. We could summon him to the stand in minutes. No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself. Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete. At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence, but that's exactly why we need this witness testimony. The professor case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Justice Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities.
Objection.
But we all know what will happen. That'll just give the mastermind of the whole venture time to cover his tracks again. By which you mean me? Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be reprimanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi. No, buddy boy. No. Oh, bud. This is breaking my heart. That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over. I need a himbo! Where's my Sholmes? Ah! I need a himbo in the courtroom tonight! He's gotta be buff and he's gotta be dumb and he's gotta be fresh for the fight! I need Sholmes! Woo! I fucking knew it! Mr. Sholmes! This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public? You will leave the courtroom at once. You want a clip of that? Absolutely. Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Seishiro Jigoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say. Lord Mail Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be? You need only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer that question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered. It would seem that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along to the prevarications of your superiors? Holy shit, Sholmes, fucking get him! Get his ass! Order! Order in court! It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices. A door that is ajar. And a door. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors in the gallery have no rights to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence! He's right. The judge has absolute authority here. Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end. But will that really do? I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed. Is there a single person here present who can honestly say the same? What? The trial should go on. Summon the witness. That's right. We need to clear this up before that young Japanese fellow is reprimanded in custody. Oh, Kazu! My lord, you assured those present that you would uncover the whole truth here. Vindicate yourself of this outlandish something. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law. A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery. On with the trial! On with the trial! Testify! Testify! Holy shit, this is awesome! Well, my lord, you hear the voice of British justice, I take it? I think you'll find it will be rather awkward to silence. Testify! Fuck yeah, this is awesome! The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Oh, look at him. Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we will reconvene. A recess won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Mikotoba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Mikotoba is here in the courthouse? Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely. I wasn't just asking for the fun of it, you know. Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you? Absolutely. It's still in my pocket. I gotta make myself one of those. She sends her regards and a reminder. If you find yourself at a dead end, the ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please. Oh, of course. In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. This is fucking incredible. I love this shit so fucking much. So it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial going to take me, I wonder? Just how deep am I about to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Haha. Maelstrom. Maelstrom heart. Ha ha ha. Play. Play the sound! Thank you. To be continued! Eee! Holy shit, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. Both a brilliant mind and a dumbass. Listen! He's playing both sides of the bell curve! I love him! Oh, hi. Hi, Goth. So, witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Yujin Mikotoba, lecturer in forensic science at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo, Japan. And Professor Mikotoba, the young lady beside you is... this is Dr. Maria Gorey, a Scotland Yard's practicing coroner, the daughter of Dr. Scythe, I understand. Yes, Dr. Scythe. I'm afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just appeared.
You summoned this strange Japanese man as a witness to that autopsy, but you don't summon Mama. That makes no sense. She was there too.
That's about the size of it. I had her eyes boring into the side of my cheek constantly, whilst I was in the antechamber too. Poor man, the idea of it's making me shudder. The revelations about Dr. Scythe came to light some days ago defiled the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore deemed unfit to appear as a witness in today's proceedings. The Ministry of Justice's decision on that is final. Well, we wouldn't want any more perjury to be committed, would we? The Ministry of Justice? Some questionable strings are being pulled, I think. I remember you, Dr. Mikotoba, but I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances. Yes, it's been a long while, Lord Strongheart. The prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London until 10 years ago. That's right. I studied under Dr. Wilson at St. Sinners. So you were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Clint Van Zeeks. Hi, Alia! You missed some shit! We are so close to finishing this shit. We might finish this game tonight. If not tonight, we're definitely finishing on Friday. Let's go! Yes, I was. I assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure. Can we kiss boyfriend yet? Or, kisses will be done after the trial.
Mama's far more skilled than any Japanese man.
Rude. Well, Dr. Wilson asked me to be his primary assistant on that occasion. And this autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe. Yes, I noted all the doctor's findings when we were done. He read through the document and signed it.
Poor Mama. As his secondary assistant, she wouldn't have had such a good view of all the innards.
So, Professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson? Yes, of course. If it wasn't for his assistant, Lord Van Zeeks' autopsy would never have happened. But he was absolutely convinced that it would reveal decisive evidence against Genshin, you see. So Lord Strongheart had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord. It was as a result of that autopsy that a mass murderer was apprehended and justice was done. But Gregson admitted to it before he was killed. He admitted that the results of the autopsy were fabricated. You were there at the time, so you must testify. You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really went on. Absolutely. That's precisely why I'm here.
And that's why I'm here too.
Very well then. You'll give your formal testimony now, witness. But before you begin, a word of warning. Oh? You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw and what you heard at the time. I wouldn't dream of doing otherwise, my lord. The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. Remember that. From my own observations, I couldn't say there was any indication of the autopsy results having been fabricated. Death resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword transfixing the heart. That I found a little strange.
There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach.
Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. No indication? Nothing to suggest fabrication? Professor Migotoba, are you certain about that? Well, nothing that I could positively identify as such, much less swear to in testimony. Well, that clears things up nicely. The only fabrication here, Asogi, has come from you. What? You claim the inspector confessed just before his death, but that is the fabrication. No, he freely acknowledged it, I swear he did. Freely? With the tip of a sword at his throat, the man was clearly at his wit's end. The court will give no credence to this confession that was uttered in obvious desperation. Quite simply, there was nothing questionable about the investigation of Lord Clint Van Zieks' death. And with this testimony we have, without question, uncovered the whole truth of the matter. If I may, my lord. There was most certainly something questionable about it, and the whole truth does rather elude us, I feel. I beg your pardon. Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of the case. All 4 of the professor's previous victims died when an enormous beast was set upon them that ripped out their throats. Alia, don't simp for Captain Stopwatch. There are so many better options. He's sus as fuck. Do not simp for him. There are so many. If you want to... Have you seen Van Zieks' muscles? He will crush you. He will crush your skull between your his fuck. Don't simp for Captain Stopwatch. It's not worth it.
Such horrifying crimes.
But curiously, the killer's last victim, Lord Clint Van Zieks, suffered a different fate. Yes, you're right.
He was stabbed through the heart with a sword.
That's enough. I believe I warned you about this, witness. I promised to curtail your testimony as soon as it entered the realms of supposition or speculation. Very well, my lord. In that case, the defense will pursue a conclusion to this during the cross-examination. What? Gave me the okay, now I can sit for Van Zieks. Listen, he had a whole character arc, we like him now. I have the right to cross-examine every witness after testimony. And I fully intend to exercise that right. Ryunosuke.
I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene the letter of the law, as I'm sure every member of the judiciary present in the gallery would agree.
Very well. You may begin, counsel. However, the moment your argument strays from the established facts, I will not hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution. Yes, my lord. I wonder if they're going to do the thing that they did in the last trial of Game 1 of Ace Attorney, where, like, if you press the wrong statements, you get penalized for it. Let's see.
Hold it!
I want to know what the piece of evidence was. But what exactly was it, though? What does beautiful but dangerous mean?
Well, it was a sparkly and round with a hole, as if it might slip over a finger, perhaps.
It was a ring, belonging to Genshin Asogi. Okay. My father's ring was inside the victim's stomach? At the time, Genshin wore a large ring on the digitus quartus of his left hand, the fourth or ring finger. I'd understood it was some sort of keepsake. When my father left Japan for London 16 years ago, I was 8 years old. But I remember that ring. You do? My father's possessions were sent to our family home in Japan after his death, but the ring wasn't among them. Obviously not. It was a key piece of evidence. It remains under lock and key in the stores at Scotland Yard to this day. After the autopsy, Genshin was summoned by the police to check for the presence of his ring. It wasn't on his hand, of course. Moreover, there were deep abrasions on his finger where it had been pulled off. They arrested the man there and then, right before my eyes. How could they?
I brought the ring along with me today.
What?
Here it is. A bit dusty from years in the stores.
Good gracious. Yes, that's it. I haven't seen that in 10 long years. And that was found inside the victim's stomach? Yes, I'm afraid so. You hesitated there, Professor Mikotoba. Should we read something into that? Well, I'm just thinking back now. I didn't actually witness the moment it was extracted from the victim's body.
Oh my, really?
At that precise moment, Dr. Wilson had asked me to fetch him a new scalpel, you see. Dr. Gorey, the removal of historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not?
Yes, but fuck you in particular.
However it came to be here, the court cannot deny that this is crucial evidence for today's proceedings. Very well, you may submit it. It's not the sort of ring normally seen in Japan. They almost look like claws protecting that jewel.
We must examine it very carefully, Mr. Naruhodo. Very carefully indeed.
Hell yeah, we will. These fat claws are doing a good job protecting the equally fat gemstone in the middle of this ring.
Yes, if you were clumsy, you could give yourself a rather nasty cut on them, I should think.
Ow! Now my finger's bleeding. The claws really are sharp.
Oh, my! That was a very quick clumsiness, Mr. Naruhodo, even for you.
It would make such a dangerous ring. You couldn't swallow it without doing yourself some fairly serious damage, surely. Yeah, and does the autopsy report say anything about there being damage?
A sticky mochi bun about that size could go down much better, with some red bean paste in the middle.
Oh, don't make me hungry, Susato. Someone as clumsy as me would probably manage to choke on it somehow. Were there any other indications in the autopsy report? Yeah, there was like nothing about other internal damage. No document of corresponding is found. No internal trauma noted anywhere in the body. That's all bullshit. It's bullshit, Your Honor. Well, wait. Let me say it first. Let me say it first. Your Honor, it's bullshit.
Objection!
Oh, wait, what? Ah, fuck. Damn it, maybe we had to press it instead. Fuck. Damn it.
Hold it!
And that was the decisive piece of evidence that led to Genshin Isogi's arrest? Correct. After further investigations by Scotland Yard, the man admitted to his crimes. Definitely had a cut to the chest, but not to the insides. No internal trauma. That's a lie. My father was no killer. Merrick von Zeeks, it was you. You twisted the truth to suit your purposes. Your hatred of me doesn't change the facts that were established 10 years ago. My brother Clint had closed on the professor case, or closed in on the professor. In the end, he exposed the man and put a stop to his lethal rampage. In the way only a man of my brother's caliber could. Okay, maybe we need to press some more stuff. That's everything, is it?
Poor father. He looks so troubled.
Perhaps because 10 years ago, something happened that's been weighing on his mind.
Oh.
I couldn't say were his words. That phrasing was very deliberate, I'm sure.
I wonder if he's had his suspicions all these years.
If that's the case, we need to use this cross-examination to prove what really happened. And remove any trace of doubt.
If we can establish that Kazuma-sama's claim of fabricated evidence was true...
We can't shy away from this now. Even if what we might uncover could lead to total calamity.
Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll be right beside you, whatever may happen.
Let's get this bread?
Hold it!
You couldn't say. No, sadly not. But then you couldn't say there wasn't any indication either, could you? No, true, I couldn't. I was at Dr. Wilson's side as he performed the procedure, recording what he did. But at times, of course, he instructed me to fetch implements and such like. Whilst I was away from the operating table, obviously I could have missed something. And at those times, what was the secondary assistant doing?
Following this Japanese man's orders to adjust the lighting or pass him implements. But that doesn't mean Mama wasn't a vital part of the team.
Quite, yes. So would you kindly refrain from staring at my cheek like that? Professor Mikotoba, think! Was there nothing at all that seemed out of place to you? Well, yes, there was, as a matter of fact.
Hold it!
In all of the previous 4 killings attributed to the professor, the victims were killed by an enormous dog, I believe. Their throats were, well, mauled. Correct. And yet Lord Van Zeeks was stabbed. Do you mean to say you think Lord Clint Van Zeeks may not have been one of the professor's victims? There is no basis on which to doubt the findings of the investigations carried out at the time. But Genshin Isogi confessed to all of his crimes upon his arrest. He admitted to having taken the lives of all 5 members of the aristocracy. Yet the beast that was used to carry out the killings was never identified. And no evidence was found to suggest that Genshin had ever kept a dog. A true hound of hell. Where's the dog? Oh, no other signs of internal injury? That's what we're supposed to show this to.
Objection!
There we go, now we got it. The court has heard that the ring was extracted from the victim's stomach. But you didn't actually see it being removed, did you, Professor Mikotoba? That's right. As I said in my testimony before. At that moment, I was fetching a replacement scalpel that Dr. Wilson had requested. In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring, in fact, really came from the victim's stomach or not. What are you suggesting, Counsel? That the ring was never in the victim's stomach to begin with. It's entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated that detail about the autopsy. What are you saying? That Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Isogi. And he produced it during the procedure, pretending to have found it there and then in the victim's stomach.
Objection!
Supposition at best. What possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim? This evidence, right here. That's the autopsy report. It's explicit in that report, Counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual was noted internally, so I'm not sure how you intend to prove your point. Well, that's exactly the problem, isn't it? You've already done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injury says it all. What? To swallow a ring of this size would require considerable effort and determination. And in addition to its size, there are the sharp claws around the gemstone to contend with. My brother was a determined man, and on the brink of death even more so, I'm sure. He would have stopped at nothing to ensure that the evil killer was brought to justice. But if he really had swallowed that enormous ring, it's inconceivable that no traces of its passage down his throat would have remained as internal trauma. No! And there you've arrived at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the findings myself 10 years ago. Then why didn't you say something at the time? I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day.
Flashback.
Look at this! Now this is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say? But isn't that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson? What's that now, Mikotoba? Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size with those sharp metal claws that it has, Surely you'd expect to see damage to the throat and esophagus? Torn mucous membranes at the very least. Dr. Mikotoba, may I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you. I'm terribly sorry. I can think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would be seen. No, let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Go ahead, write it down. Jeez. So I was right. Dr. Wilson deliberately fabricated the results of the autopsy to implicate my father. I'm disappointed, Counsel. That argument is nothing more than speculation. What? Dr. Wilson was Britain's leading authority on forensic science and autopsy work. There's no scientific basis on which to doubt the man's expert opinion. Pardon the interruption, my lord, but damage to the mucous membranes of the throat is easily identified even in living subjects.
Using a device called an endoscope recently demonstrated in practical use in France. I want one. The government can pay.
I don't think so. And Dr. Gorey, rest assured that your removal of evidence from the stores without permission will not go unpunished.
Oh, fuck you then. We open up the dead to find the truth.
I beg your pardon?
But Mama, she chose to stitch her corpses up with all her secrets inside. That's wrong.
Dr. Gorey, it's looking as though she's chosen to walk a different path to her mama. Get him. Get him. Get him! Get him, cute goth girl! Get him! Yes, the ring. What about the ring? I've just remembered something. An earlier incident. What incident? The one I recounted to you before, about the memory I have. Of Genshin Asogi saving my life. What? My father saved your life? It was 10 years ago on a foggy night. Genshin and I were walking back down some back streets at a late hour. All of a sudden... Don't make a peep! You're coming with us! All our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me. It was on the ring finger of his left hand that he used to bear that ring. Are you saying... I've always believed those thugs were after me. But now I'm starting to question if I wasn't the intended target after all. Wait, but... Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack. And in that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found. You mean the ring was stolen from him? You think that's what those thugs were after that night? Oh, shit! God damn! You pathetic coward. You expect me to believe that you weren't involved? What do you mean by that? It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it. You stole my father's ring. You set the whole thing up so you could paint him as a mass murderer and have him Kazuma. Open your eyes. Ryunosuke. You must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscured even when your judgment is only slightly clouded. But at the moment, you seem to be floundering through a dense fog. Is that why you were so insistent I should be present in this trial? To see you like this? Damn, Renosuke, get him. Well, this is an amusing spectacle. What a grandiose expression on your face, as if you were Lady Justice herself. Shut up, Captain Stopwatch! We don't need your input. It seems you've thoroughly convinced yourself of this alleged fabrication of the autopsy results. So much so that you're apparently blind to the blatant contradiction that would be born out of it. What? Though it's extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asogi not have disputed the findings in his trial? Oh. In the closed court hearing 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zieks? Yes, that is indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilty, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment. The actions of a man who has accepted responsibility for his deeds and is resigned to his fate. But then...
Oh my, that is very strange. If Mr. Soki did nothing to oppose the charges against him, then...
I have a theory. You guys, I have a theory. I had this theory yesterday, and I didn't talk about it on stream yet. He admitted to it because he was protecting someone. There are only two options of people he could feasibly have been, like, protecting. Jigoku, the judge guy who we already know is evil, and Mikotoba. And I don't think Mikotoba was involved in this at all. Like, I know I said earlier, but, like, evidence proves that no. I feel like Judge Jigoku is the professor. The Asogi dad knew, but he wanted to protect his friend for, friendship reasons, I guess. That's my current theory. It may be debunked, but that's the current theory that I came up with yesterday on a walk. Because why else would he admit to it? He was defending he was trying to, and then what further complicates that is, like, that could explain why Jigoku was so up in arms that it wasn't Asogi. Because he's like, no, my friend wouldn't do something like that, because, like, he acknowledges that Asogi is defending him, but he doesn't want Asogi to die for it. And so that's why Jigoku was so, like, gung-ho that he fucking broke the witness stand 10 years ago. They've talked about that many times.
That would surely mean there was no fabricated evidence.
An obvious conclusion at which you should have arrived many minutes ago, Prosecutor Asogi. Your twisted loyalty and clouded judgment are hampering your ability for logical thought. Genshin Asogi's silence at his hearing can mean only one thing. There was no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim 10 years ago. But if that autopsy was all above board, there will be nothing to stop Lord Strongheart bringing this trial to an immediate conclusion. I need a himbo! I'm holding out for a himbo! Oh no, it's Kazuma. I thought it was, I misheard. I thought it was Sholmes' objection. It was Kazuma's. I'm dumb. Don't look at me like that. I get excited when my boy's about to show up, maybe. But it's my other boy. Ignore me, rewind, that didn't happen. I misheard. I was drinking water. Kazuma can be a himbo too. It's fine. No, he can't. He's way too smart. I wanted to be Sholmes so bad. Listen, I had a moment earlier in the trial, and I wanted it to happen again, but it didn't. This is better. Okay, shut up. Thank you, Renosuke. If it wasn't for your frank words just now, this trial may very well have ended prematurely. Kazuma? What's this latest absurdity, Counsel? My lord, your reasoning is perfectly sound, but for one giant hole. Kazuma's not a himbo. No, he's totally not. He's not. I was trying to cover my own ass. It was the worst defense ever. I beg your pardon. You claim my father's silence was due to the fact that there was no fabricated evidence. But there's another possible explanation. You have overlooked the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that silence. Silence that would lead to him being convicted and sent to his death? If the autopsy results were an invention, there's no conceivable reason why the man wouldn't have protested. Oh, those results were an invention, all right. There's no question of that. Or are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to that autopsy have been assassinated? If I force the grievances I feel from my mind, I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you who has been living in delusion these 10 years. Me?
Kazuma-sama has created one last chance for us here, Mr. Naruhodo. If we can only show there was a reason for his father's silence in this trial.
A reason why the man would have said nothing even though he was innocent? Could it have been part of some negotiation, perhaps? Enough rhetoric. The court must be shown evidence. What proof do you have that could possibly explain Sogi's silence in court? Let me look at those papers again. If upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son. Deep down that I accept my fate in this foreign land, in the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. So much fucking evidence. I mean, I feel like it can only be this. I am gonna save first, though.
Take that!
This is the defense's answer to that question. Nope, that wasn't it. Betting the escape of conflict. Maybe it was... Did they make a deal with him that if he accepted the thing, they would help him escape? Indications are that the jailbreak plot was conceived prior to the convict's incarceration. Believe that the convict engaged in some form of negotiation with prison staff in order to secure assistance, full disclosure of information regarding these There it is.
Take that!
It's true that Genshin Isogi's silence during his trial resulted in his conviction. But that didn't actually lead to his execution. On the contrary. It led to his escape. An escape that was only possible because he'd been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated in that way, the defense is correct. A fake execution, falsification of a death certificate, and a jailbreak inside a coffin. Clearly such an elaborate plan couldn't have been carried out by my father alone. He must have had the help of a collaborator from the judiciary. I have here the dismissal notice of the chief warder who was working in the prison at the time. The rules read, the notes read, there are indications that the jailbreak was in planning prior to the inmate's incarceration. In other words, there were suggestions of some sort of negotiation between Mr. Isogi and the British government. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he would be broken out of prison. Yes, with that sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he would have kept very quiet. I would go further than that, in fact. I would say that the elaborate jailbreak of Mr. Isogi can be explained in no other way. Order! Order! First fabricated evidence and now a jailbreak conspiracy. Of course, because it's all intimately linked. The prosecution wishes to summon new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses? People who can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Yeah.
Governor Caden? And the poor chief warder of the prison.
I won't allow this trial to turn into a farce. To summon the governor of the prison after all these years. Oh, it wouldn't be any trouble, my lord. What?
Father?
My dear friend may appear a little rattle-pated at times, but I can assure you he is extremely thorough. He wired both Barclay and the local prison earlier. Asking Governor Caden and Mr. Vigil to attend the Old Bailey is a matter of extreme urgency.
Mr. Sholmes did that?
Are you telling me that... both men are, unless I'm much mistaken, waiting just outside the courtroom at this very moment. My lord, you must permit this trial to proceed as you declared at its outset. You promised that we would stop at nothing, to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Yeah, fume about it. Very well. Bring in the witnesses. The witness stand is getting fucking crowded. We are not finishing this trial tonight. Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all. Sholmes is a fucking legend. Yeah, holy shit. I need a himbo! What a guy. Would the new witnesses state their names and occupations for the court? Oh, god damn it! That means I have to do both of their voices now. Fuck! I have to do my not Scottish accent. Shit. Aye. Barry Caden, Governor of Barclay Prison.
Everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to
your other persona, if you don't mind.
Oh, I do beg your pardon. Of course. My name is Daily Vigil. I used to be the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
The reason you've been summoned here to court today is to testify about the jailbreak of the so-called professor 10 years ago. Wosh, the professor! We've already been through all this before, a decade ago. And the conclusion was that there wasn't anything untoward happened. A convict escaped from your prison, Governor. Hardly what you'd call nothing untoward. Ah, well. The convict's death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed, and he escaped the prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Caden, don't imagine that the passage of time will afford you any protection. If it turns out that you were involved in the plot to break Mr. Sogi out of your prison, then of course, the consequences will be very serious. In all likelihood, a capital punishment. Yes, hold on there, laddie. All I did was... Witness, Governor Caden. Aye, sir. You have a critical role to play in the public safety of our country. A great responsibility to shoulder. The significance of your testimony in court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. And Prosecutor Asogi, if you threaten the witness again, you will be held in contempt of court. My apologies, my lord. There's no disputing the fact that an intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, you were both involved in some way. So you will testify before the court now and explain exactly what took place. Very well. Let the witnesses give their formal testimony. Tell the court everything you know of the plot to break Asogi out of Barclay 10 years ago. Let's fucking go. It was the day that Japanese jock was found guilty. The directive came from the prosecutor's office. I assigned the convict to the chief warder Vigil here and put the plan into action behind the scenes.
I was responsible for Asogi right up until the night of his execution, but I knew nothing of any plot.
I didn't ken if there was some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire. Oh, interesting. A directive from the prosecutor's office? Are you saying that was the jailbreak plot? Aye, that's right. Who sent it? Who authorized that plan? I didn't ken that. You're saying you don't know? Listen, that was not a thing about the Professor case that was unusual in some way. I didn't ask any questions. I just did what I was told to do. More than that, I couldn't tell you. Again, I will apologize to anyone watching the stream, or the VODs later. I cannot do a Scottish accent to save my life, so he is now just like vaguely British with as much Scottish as I can possibly squeeze in there. I'm trying very hard. I see. But if the jailbreak plan originated from the prosecutor's office, then one thing is very clear. As suspected, there were clandestine dealings going on between Mr. Sogi and that office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Mr. Sogi admitting to crimes he didn't commit. Wait. 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 I think I may have just had a brain theory. No, hold on. Strongheart, shut up. Brain blast. If I'm wrong, you guys can mock me later, but I'm having thoughts now. We had a conversation with someone. I can't remember who, but we had a conversation about the Professor case a while back. And people were talking about how some folks were okay with the Professor killings because they saw the killings as, like, kind of sort of what the Reaper was doing. Like some people didn't like the aristocracy. And so some people were like, okay, they were like, eat the rich. Sure, fine. Dog gets to eat the rich? Totally. It's exactly the same as the fucking Reaper. Is Strongheart the Professor? Because that's what my brain is telling me. Because, like, maybe some of the other folks in the prosecutor's office, they kind of figured out that shit was funky and they were like, hey, listen, we need somebody to take the fall for this. We'll get you out if you plead guilty to it. Yeah, exactly. Like it was like the prologue. And he used the whole Reaper thing to just keep going with it. It's the same fucking shit. If I'm right, I will scream. It's literally the same shit. He's just doing fucking Death Note shit. He just rebranded, exactly. And, okay, listen, we still don't know who shot Asogi after he was, like, resurrected. Resurrected, quote unquote. It could have been that Strongheart figured out that they were trying to let him go, and if he got out, he would have said who it was. So Strongheart, if he figured out there was something going on with the, if he figured out that there was a plot to break Asogi out of prison and get him acquitted so that then he could be like, well, actually, here's what happened. He couldn't have allowed that, so he could have just, he killed Asogi like he shot, quote unquote, the Professor as he rose out of his grave. Because we still don't know who shot him. We still don't know who killed him. That could have just been him taking direct action. Is Strongheart both the Reaper and the Professor? I'm running with this theory. So, let me ask the defense. Oh, yes, my lord? You're gonna scream anyway. Shut up! I fail to see how these witnesses have any more pertinent information here. Do you intend to assert your right to a cross-examination? Yeah. Absolutely. I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity, my lord. It seems all you Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Very well. Proceed, counsel. Oh no. Roxy, do you need to go out? Do you need to go outside? Yes. Okay. Y'all, please don't be mad at me. I know this is very dramatic, and I know I just went on a whole ramble about my theories. I have to go take my dog out now. She is begging for me to take her outside. And we've only got 10 minutes left of the stream anyway. I think this is a good stopping point. We stop here. We finish this shit on Friday. That's what I'm thinking. I think this is a good stopping point because I feel like it's just going to get crazier from here. And we're almost to the end of my usual stream time anyway. Let's finish this shit on Friday. Because we are so close to the end, but I feel like I can't really go overtime today because my brother's going to be home pretty soon. I want to know what happens too. Stop right after the theories? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, I'm going to set up a raid. I will give Roxy plenty of pets, don't worry, but I do have to go take her outside. Let's see. Who can we raid? Okay, it looks like Nero's stream. Will you go overtime on Friday? Probably, because my brother usually gets home pretty late on Friday, so I can go a little bit longer. But also I have a feeling we're gonna finish this shit on Friday, and if we have any time left over, we can just, like, dig around in the menus or something. Let's fucking go. And you know what? I mean, even if we don't finish on Friday, I still have Monday, because I'm not leaving for AWA until Wednesday. So we have 2 more streams. We're definitely going to finish this game before Anime Week in Atlanta, that's all I will say. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my usual filling. Filling? Shilling. Thank you guys for coming. If you have not, please join the Discord so we can talk about theories before Friday's stream. You can also join me and follow me on Twitter. I post dumb Ace Attorney stuff on there sometimes. I'm going to go ahead and activate the raid now so that the countdown will start. Also, if you like Ace Attorney, I have Ace Attorney stickers and other merch on my store, so that's fun. And also, like I was saying at the start of the stream, I got my books in today from my Kickstarter. So you can go buy one of my books on how to make a webcomic. Is pretty good, I think. They turned out really nice, and I've been signing them all. Okay, also, I don't know, read my webcomic. Okay, I'm gonna activate the raid now. I gotta go. When you guys get over to Nyaru's stream, say hi. I'm not gonna be able to join you guys for that raid, so someone let her know that. I had to go take my dog out, but Star sends her love. Anyway, I will see you guys on Friday. Let's finish this shit! I'm so hype. I'm so hype as hell. Let's fucking go. Goodbye, friends. I will see you on Friday. Let's finish this shit!